Welcome to our penultimate training camp edition of Irish Illustrated Insider. I'm Tim O'Malley, joined today by John Bryce of Football Scoop, Tim Priester of Irish Illustrated, and Pete Sampson of The Athletic. And guys, instead of normal segment one, we're going to start today with the most important question from Rise 128. I was wondering when the podcast taping is scheduled to end, because then I can plan for 1 minute later having a quarterback announcement from Notre Dame. He's obviously a longtime podcast listener, and the jinx could be intact. It is a Monday podcast, Tim Priester, after a non-announcement Sunday. Training camp is over-ish, as though, as John Bryce pointed out, there will be when he says a walkthrough at the stadium, it's not your garden variety walkthrough. The quarterbacks will be kind of graded on what they're
Yeah.
able to do in
What
the machinations.
what is that a morning practice schedule like they have been? Probably. So there's a good chance that the Jinx can
It's
the
being announced
Jinx
right
can,
now as we started. We can't see
yeah,
social media.
yeah.
Yeah, guys, we didn't expect an announcement yesterday, especially as things got closer. But I don't know how they're going to announce now. I think I was talking with Pete pre-presser, and we said a lot of things are social media now, but when you do social media for an announcement like this, you're going to have 50% negative responses on the Notre Dame site, because that's just what happens when there's a quarterback competition. So maybe low key coming up, guys.
It could be. Maybe they'll leak it to, Pete Thamel and just have it go out nationally
That could
instead.
happen.
That certainly could happen. But yeah, I think that the reason that I wasn't surprised there wasn't an announcement yesterday is because it would have sort of invalidated that Jersey scrimmage as meaning anything. Unless it was such a blowout. But even then, you still want to pull the other guy aside and be like, hey, by the way, we're going with the other guy's QB1. However, I think that we would all agree, like, as you ask around about where the quarterback position is heading, I don't really hear much for CJ Carr, and I hear a lot for Kenny Minchey. And so it's to me that feels like we got to be close. And I think it's in Notre Dame's best interest that they wrap this up as soon as possible.
You mean
Yeah,
behind the scenes? It doesn't matter when they announce it, but wrapped
No,
up
I
behind
mean
the scenes.
the thing is it's going to leak out anyway.
Yeah.
So I would control my own story if I was Notre Dame, opposed to just sort of letting it filter out on message boards and Twitter.
And we've
it,
seen some other schools just publicly declare their starter. I mean, Tennessee, for example, named Joey Aguilar as its starter yesterday, just with a simple tweet, a picture of him from a scrimmage that said QB1 at the helm. And some other schools have used social media. Alabama, more or less, made an unofficial announcement. Some of the West Coast teams did very similarly. We're seeing word this morning that Stephen Jelly is indeed the starter for Syracuse. Not a great surprise there. So, yeah, I agree that it's going to get out, and I agree that everything continues to be trending Kenny Minchey direction. I think both quarterbacks maybe threw an interception yesterday in the stadium scrimmages was indicated to me. I think Kenny's might have been on a tipped ball. A little bit of discrepancy there, but Kenny Minchey opened up Saturday with the first team offense first, and he opened up yesterday in the stadium with the first team offense first. Now, CJ Carr came back in after that and got some work with the ones, and then Kenny worked with the twos. But for whatever it's worth, Kenny has opened with the ones each of the last 2 days, even though they have continued to split reps.
yeah, and Pete, I mean, I think we've all, in the last however many days, it all kind of runs together. But I think we've all been hearing more Minchie than Carr, and so I think that's accurate. And if it does leak out on Irish Illustrated, I can't imagine who would leak that out. Um,
Dramatic pause for effect,
Yeah.
John.
but look, I mean, it comes down to well, it comes down to protecting the football. I think both of them have had to some degree trouble with that. But who can do more? And more meaning run the football, and that's Kenny Minchey. So if it goes in that direction, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be shocked if it's CJ Carr.
I would
But
be at this point. I would now be
well,
shocked if
okay.
it's CJ Carr.
Well, I mean, I would be I wouldn't be shocked. I don't even know how to say it, but I think it's clearly going in the direction of Minchie. And, I do think that it has to, whether it's revealed to us and the masses or not, it has to be revealed to the team in very short order.
Yeah, and it won't be Noah Grubbs, even though his name accidentally came up at the presser yesterday. I'm sure I did feel bad for Marcus there when he was going to reference Noah Burnett. He brought up a guy you can't reference because he's not on your team yet, 2026
How
QB
about
recruit Noah Grubbs. But go ahead,
how
Tim.
about the debate about what his mood was after the game? I mean, or after the scrimmage.
Yeah,
I thought he looked a little exasperated.
I did
And if your
too.
quarterback threw some red zone interceptions, I probably would be exasperated too.
Just going to say the same thing. If a QB threw two red zone interceptions, maybe you're not happy walking in to talk to the media.
I'll tell you what else might not have left him in the greatest mood is that I was told the offense was sloppy yesterday with a number of penalties, and we know he hates that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, as Denbrock
particularly,
referenced shooting ourselves in the foot. Like every time
Right.
Denbrock has come in, it's only been 2 times. He's talked about catastrophic mistakes,
It's
followed it up with shooting ourselves in the
yeah,
foot every opportunity.
yeah.
yeah,
Well, and that's and
specifically, I think some pre-snap penalties, which again really drives
that's
them nuts.
really
But
bad.
that's not an effort. That's not a guy making a play. That's people not being on the same
Has
page.
there been one time where we've heard, "Whoa, the offense had a better day than defense"?
No,
Not once.
in fact, without selling out one of the three sites on this podcast right now, we heard the Penn. You can speak up if you want to, but we heard the Penn scrimmage included
Hey, Tate.
a horrid goal to go situation for the offense. As in, you and I could have completed the exact same amount of
As
touchdowns as the
in,
others did. So
as in
that's
every opportunity was a failure. Yeah. So okay, so now we're going down a negative road here.
that's
The
okay.
def
Negative roads exist in the
well,
world.
yes, the negative world is reality, and we deal in reality. The defense, and again, we've said it before. I mean, to be fair, you're going against a great defense and a great secondary, and so those things are going to happen to your own offense. That's a little bit, that's very inexperienced at quarterback, and hopefully to a lot of offenses that Notre Dame faces on Saturdays coming up and Sunday.
So the other true battle left, we'll get to safeties in a second. The battle we don't know about would be right guard with Gerby Lambert and Sullivan Absher. It certainly seems that Lambert went after Sullivan Absher. We don't usually say that at guard, but he caught up to Sullivan Absher, who certainly had the lead entering camp, right? Nobody penciled in Gerby Lambert at right guard because we also thought he was a right tackle, and that kind of knocks you out of playing when Emil Wagner is etched in stone there. So Lambert versus Absher and JB, any insight on? I know Absher was banged up, but I only know that because we didn't see him practicing once in one of our 6 very
Yeah,
brief outings.
I think Absher has had a lingering back issue that has intermittently impacted him across multiple years at Notre Dame. And so, but in terms of intel there, once again, Gerby Lambert opened with the ones on Saturday at right guard, and Gerby Lambert opened with the ones on Sunday for the Jersey scrimmage at right guard. So they're splitting some, but I think Gerby Lambert very clearly has emerged as the front runner in that race. I don't know if you guys have
I I
anything different or want to
I
add
heard that, John,
anything.
and I think we talked about it the other day. I think that's just long term. That's the guy that's going to be better. And the great thing about Joe Rudolph, and I imagine, I'd have to go back and think about the moves made through the years with the offensive line coaches, but his willingness just to take a tackle and make him a guard. I mean, best players on the field, and I think that's what he did in this situation. And
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that if Lambert is the winner of the job because I think he's going to be sensational. It probably won't always be at guard while he's at Notre Dame.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to that point, I think Gerby Lambert is probably one of the 3 best linemen in the
Yeah,
Notre Dame program right now.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's what
go
I
ahead.
was just saying. Like when I sat down with somebody in the program in the summer, just like I always ask, like, what young players are interesting to you? I'm thinking more like freshmen coming in, and the first name was Lambert, and it's like I don't know how they keep him off the field. Like he's got to play somewhere.
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily think it was going to be a right guard, but that I think Kirby Lambert will win that job and will hold it as long as he's humanly possible. well, I guess we'll see what happens when Chagasaw comes back, but I think Gerby Lambert will win that job and probably play pretty well there.
Tim, I was going to mention some other guys that moved from tackle to guard, but they
Guard.
all have the bodies of the guards. Gerby Lambert has the body of a true starting pro left
Right.
tackle or right tackle, like Tommy Kramer, Steve Elmer, Alex Bars. All those guys' future was a guard anyway. They're all guards anyway.
Yeah, I think our track record of saying that tackle is going to be a guard
Yeah.
is pretty good, and it's always disputed, and I get it, but we've seen it happen often enough, and I think we know the body types well enough
Right,
that and Knapp is the exception, and he may end up inside someday.
Before we get on to one topic from Chris Ash that Tim Priester wrote about today, and also a high praise from Mike Denbrock. Anything else from Freeman's presser you guys want to make sure we touched on that will not appear in segment 2? I know you guys have read and reread every word of segment 2's questions, so there's no way of walking over that right now. I was a little late sending. That's an inside joke to people listening. I was a little late sending today.
Go ahead, guys. Because we talked about some of these things, and Pete, go ahead, because we talked about instant analysis yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I asked a little bit about how the defense impacts the quarterback competition.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
And I thought the answer was a real bit of I guess illumination on just how young those quarterbacks are in terms of inexperience. Like it triggered Brian Kelly talking about quarterbacks learning about down and distance when they're at Notre Dame, and I'm just
when they're seniors.
Yeah, when they're seniors. But it was just a reminder of Carr and Minchie understanding cover 2 and disguise safeties and zone fire blitz. Like, I'm just throwing out random buzzy coaching words here, but there's just a lot on their plate, a lot to process. And so, I mean, it's interesting on one hand because it probably led to a lot of interceptions that Marcus Freeman didn't want to see. But also Chris Ash's job really isn't to get the quarterback ready. His job is to make the defense as good as humanly possible, but there is sort of how do the coordinators work well together elements too. I just think that's an interesting coaching dynamic there about how do your coordinators work well together, but also their responsibilities to their side of the ball, not yours.
Pete, did you ask Golden about that once when they were
I
ahead?
asked Denbrock about it because it was another hey, the defense is ahead of the offense. And I think Denbrock's point was basically yeah, man, that dude's throwing a lot of crap at us. And I don't know if Jared Parker ever talked about this publicly, but I get the sense that privately it was could you give us a break here?
I think that's true.
So
I think
Golden just didn't care,
thought,
man.
Yeah.
He's coming at you.
I thought GP once said, goodness, we're trying to install an offense here. We can catch a break. He's running cover 0, blitzing from everywhere.
It's just the annoying kid in practice who is not letting you get your team stuff done because they're would you just calm down here, Rudy? But
I was just gonna say Rudy.
So I wonder if I mean, maybe Ash is that aggressive, but I just think he's got so much to work with that those quarterbacks. I mean, it was probably just a real losing proposition from an aesthetic standpoint of actually protecting the football.
Priester had the low-key best line of the press conference that nobody transcribed and nobody said anything about yesterday when Denbrock made a great joke. He's you often hear the defense is ahead of the offense in training camp. He's yeah, a little bit too often, because he was joking there. And Priester's well, you're ahead of your defense once. And he meant 2023 Jaden
2023 LSU.
Against the worst defense in the world.
Yeah. Ahead by a wide margin.
Denbrock did not blink when you said that.
No, I thought, I mean, there are a lot of comments we can hit, and we'll catch a lot of them in the second segment. But it's something Marcus Freeman said. It's not just the outcome of the play, it's the decision that's made.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, both are bad. The outcome of the play, the decision's bad, therefore it leads to a bad outcome. But, even if it's not a bad outcome, it can be the next time because you're not making the proper decisions. And that's all about quarterback play. And, they're gonna have to pull it together. I don't know that Miami has a great defense. We're gonna provide an update for Irish Illustrated subscribers as to what we've heard in camp at Miami, and I look at that defensive line for Miami. I think it's very capable. There's still some questions about their interior defensive line, but their questions are with David Blay that came from Louisiana Tech that was outstanding there, and Justin Scott, who was the number 11 rated player in the class of 2024. So they better get it together. The offensive line is going to have to play really well. But it just hasn't come together yet. And it's not so much the outcome, it's the decision making that's concerning.
Before I circle back on the Chris Ashton, Jason Onye, which was kind of a nice topic that Priester wrote about too. Well, nice off the field and great on the field because Jason Onye can start and help Notre Dame's football team. But Mike Denbrock noting Eli Raridan doubling down. Pete, we talked about this on Instant Analysis, and you and JB have long been proponents of at some point Eli Raridan's going to figure this out. Sounds like he's figuring it out because Mike Denbrock definitely noted Eli Raridan, calling him elite. And when you say that in the spring, when you say it in the end of camp, I think he means it.
Yeah, I mean, think about the tight ends Denbrock's coached at Notre Dame too.
Yeah, he had some good ones.
So yeah, it's I mean, that was something that I think Denbrock said coming out of spring, something I heard on background in early summer, something we keep hearing now. I mean, he's got to do it, obviously.
Sure,
but
that's where Priester and I have always been. It's like, let's
it's. I think that Eli Raridan's senior year could replace Osmar Bilal as like the senior guy who just puts it all together finally, and you're like, oh man, where's that been? They really needed that.
JB, what else from yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that Kenny Minchie, for the people who are wondering about his ability to push it downfield, I was told he had a very lengthy downfield completion to KK Smith, a 50 or 60-yard pass that maybe got marked out just inside the 1 yard line. Nearly a touchdown. Some said maybe a touchdown. So I think that was a moment. And we heard Marcus Freeman specifically mention KK Smith yesterday, right after the Jersey scrimmage. So that's probably not a coincidence that happened. I would continue to, monitor the situation with Aeneas Williams' elbow. I think that it's been a little bit more banged up than what they first believed was the case when he got injured in that Friday night practice at School Field. And I think maybe he dinged it up a little bit again yesterday. So that one is of note, I think, for the Irish depth at tailback, and certainly from what we saw Aeneas Williams in some key moments last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's highly relevant for game one only because Price as the backup, though he is the backup because he never started, so I can call him a backup. 0 starts out of 16. He's the backup.
Yeah.
But he's also not your pass protection number 2. He's also not your throwing out of the backfield number 2. That's Aeneas Williams. So that matters a little bit. And Nolan James, you asked about Nolan James. Marcus Freeman said Nolan James can help us in the passing game, and I don't think that was an accident either. So I think it's relevant to have Aeneas Williams banged up for Miami and Texas A&M. They could use him back because that will be Nolan James's first game ever when he has to go catch some passes in the Orange Bowl.
I thought in terms of catching the football, but you're right, Tim. And wouldn't you expect Nolan James to be pretty adept at pass blocking because
he's an animal? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, he just seems like that kind of player. What you need him to do, he'll do. I thought of pass catching. You thought of pass protection, and that could very well be the case.
We'll wrap up segment 1 with some injury notes. These are not like official injury notes, but since JB mentioned Aeneas Williams, Freeman mentioned Ty Washington kind of hampered with a wrap on his wrist. That's interesting because they do need 12 personnel down there. And when you lose Kevin Bauman as your inline backup, Ty Washington was supposed to be involved in that in some way. If not, you're turning to Jack Larson, who Freeman mentioned, because he's next. Any other injury updates we have? Obviously, Traore and Ashton Craig just seem like they're ready to roll, right?
Yeah, they're not even injury updates at
Not
this
even
point.
Yeah, exactly.
Good question about Botello. I want to couch everybody saying he's ahead of schedule because we see him be very aggressive when it's nobody hitting his shoulder back. We're in there for 20 minutes when he's hitting a sled as hard as he can with his other shoulder. and he's maybe fighting off a fellow defensive lineman in a drill with his other shoulder.
Right.
So I just think Botelho's effort to get back means when he's cleared, he's ready. That's probably the best progress he's making, as opposed to, oh, he'll be able to play against Texas A&M. I don't see that at all in terms of the injury.
No. No, I don't think so. I think it's pretty hard to project.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any. JB, have you heard any specifics? No, I don't think anybody's offered anything on him. He's just you. But Tim, you're absolutely right. He's doing that with his better side, and it's clear that he's not using the other side. But he's still playing aggressively and going for it. So he's getting closer. But I think it's really difficult to predict right now unless we talk to Rob Hunt.
Yeah, and with Ty Washington banged up, it is of note, like the two tight ends that featured the most work with the first team offense yesterday were obviously Eli Raridan, and then Jack Larson was the other one. So he right now appears to be in that number 3 tight end spot, moving up to the number 2 tight end spot, with Washington banged up with a wrist injury. Charles Jagasaw completely out of the sling. I think T.O., you maybe have some more information there, but stress to me that Jagasaw is moving around good and was active on the sideline yesterday, not participating, but just moving up and down the sideline and completely out of the brace that we'd seen his right arm in for, or maybe his left arm in for most of preseason camp.
Yeah, he's looking he looks good out there. We see that, but I had word that was a bit more of a setback than was led to believe when he had to have the wound. He's pushed back farther. Charles Jagasaw will not be baking it earlier than everybody thought. Charles Jagasaw has been pushed back farther in his recovery. That's not like a month down the line. I'm just saying Jagasaw, with his healing powers everybody's talked about, it kept thinking to themselves, maybe he can push up to mid-September. I wouldn't look at that anymore. That's not an option. It's not terrible news on the injury front, but it's not he is ahead of schedule like we perceive Botelho to be.
It always seems like these kind of things coincide with the bye week. Like they want that extra buffer. The bye week is October
after
25th.
25th.
Yeah.
25th.
Hopefully he's back before that. He was That would be the pushback, though. He was scheduled. They were hoping for early October, or we were hoping for early October by using regular timelines of 4 months. I think then there was some thought maybe he's such a quick healer, but I would let's put it in October without knowing what we're talking about. But I got news that it's not wasn't smooth sailing since they had to go back in. That's it for injury updates. Thankfully, we'll be back with segment 2, burning up the boards.
We start with a question from Jim Bob Cooter 55. Marcus Freeman is all about process. He preaches about it frequently. From the outside, how would you evaluate the process of this year's quarterback battle?
I think it got out of their control a little bit, the process, because no matter what, I don't think they thought it would go to August 18th. It doesn't. If you ask them on July 27th, will you know your quarterback on August 17th and 18th? I think they would say, oh yeah, that person will present before then. Not that they would give you a timetable, but I don't know. I feel like the process was difficult because the quarterback didn't make it easy. The quarterbacks didn't make it easy.
I think that's incredibly well said. I think the process, how I would evaluate it, well, the process is still ongoing, and that probably wasn't expected to be the process. Not at this point when they're doing the mock game, and that's when you're getting the logistics of game day down. You expect you have your QB1 identified, so the QB1 is running things from the sideline to the field and in the huddle, as we heard Denbrock say some yesterday as well. So yeah, I think because the process is ongoing, that's not what was expected.
Yeah, I think that the competition at the quarterback position for the first 2.5 weeks could accurately be described as a good problem to have, and now it's just a problem.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
I think that every day that this goes on, your starting quarterback is getting fewer reps than he should. Whoever that starting quarterback is, because you're doing it 50-50. This is not like a crisis by any stretch of the imagination on August 18th. It's a problem that the coaching staff has to solve. They've had, 5,000 more than that reps to evaluate over the last 16, 17 days. It's kind of hard to get your head around that it could be that close, but I guess we'll take them at their word that it's that close after 5 to 10,000 reps.
We like we've had a lot of questions. Like we said, it was expected that Carr would win the job, or I don't know if we use that word or not exactly, but I think, hey, to the credit of the coaching staff, it's been an open competition. I don't think it would be unfair to say, the coaches are human too, that they anticipated that Carr might win or probably would win the job, and it didn't, and that didn't
Every
happen.
position, don't you think, Tim? Every position, a
Yeah, you
coach.
go. Yeah, I mean,
You left
everybody's
spring.
human. Yeah,
Yeah, you left spring
you,
thinking something. You didn't go to
yeah,
15 practices and be like, man, I have no idea.
exactly.
It's
So
like,
I think Marcus Freeman spoke the truth when he talked to us at the end of May that it's going to be an open competition. But I think human nature being human nature and knowing what CJ Carr can do throwing the ball downfield, his accuracy, it might have been anticipated that he would win the job, and it hasn't happened. And I will say, Pete, I agree with what you're saying, and I think, I mean, like, Kenny Minchie's probably been the better quarterback, but they're giving Carr opportunities to hang in there and compete. You're going to have to pull the trigger here real soon.
double question here, and we're going to not quite wrap it up with quarterbacks from this point forward, but this is relevant as well. From Mr. Stuller, let's assume we do not have two Joe Burrows currently competing for the starting job. That means at some point, QB1 will struggle this season. I think that's fair. How does Marcus Freeman and Denbrock and Gaduli, of course, handle the QB room when that adversity strikes? If it's truly 50-50, don't both QBs deserve a shot? You want to answer that part first, guys, while I cough?
Go ahead, guys.
I mean, I can't imagine that's going to be 50-50. I mean, I like I said, if they had 5,000 reps and they actually each was better on 2,500 of them, okay, then it's 50-50.
Then it's deserved.
Yeah, but like, and I appreciate Marcus Freeman's perspective that like the players end position competitions, not coaches. At some point, the coaches have to make a decision, and Marcus Freeman is aware of that. So, could both play? I mean, I'm thinking back to, I think when JJ McCarthy was breaking in at Michigan, they sort of started two quarterbacks and they gave each like a week, and then moved forward. But like those two games were not Miami and Texas A&M.
Right.
It was probably like Nevada and Colorado State.
That's
So
a good point. Yeah.
Their coach was probably suspended.
yeah, it's possible. So I think Notre Dame will need both quarterbacks to play this year. Maybe it's because of an injury, maybe it's because of one struggle. So whoever is number two has to really buy into being number two, which is going to be a real challenge at this point. I think that it's fair to be, I think, a little bit concerned about like, okay, how do you get to a point where you get both guys bought in when there's a winner and a loser?
And that's part two here. ND Irish Berg, do you feel the culture of this team can support both QBs and substitutions as needed? I feel like this has split some teams in the past. Well, 2016 Irish, but if you look at Alabama, when they benched Hurts for Tua, they did not skip a beat.
Yeah, I think that we've talked at length about the culture of Marcus's program, and he even touched on it yesterday when asked about how terrible he is punting soccer balls and said, "Hey, nobody's too good to do anything in this program." And I think that's sort of the approach that he's really instilled in the program, the team glory that has become such a rote part of existence, the TGS golden standard as they break down all the huddles. So I do think the culture is such that it can support both. You guys have better insight into 2017, but what was it, week 4 that Ian Book finally took over for Wimbush? And I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think we would be too terribly surprised if there was some sort of similar trajectory in this season. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I do agree wholly with Pete that I think both quarterbacks will play this fall for Notre Dame, and I think both will be needed this fall for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I hesitate at the word deserve. I mean, like Pete said, I mean, it'd have to be, to me, it'd have to be a 50-50 split to say they both deserve to play. The coaching staff will determine who deserves to play, and that's subjective. I get that, but and I also agree with the notion that both are going to be needed because I don't think, well, number one, there's always the prospect of injuries, which over a long season, which could now be a lot longer, it can certainly happen. But I just don't see one guy starting and then just taking off and making the other guy inconsequential for the rest of the season.
From Terry Benedict, now we're switching gears out of quarterbacks. Terry Benedict, when was the last time Notre Dame had both their number 1 and number 2 running backs returning kickoffs? And Terry Benedict would like to add, I hate this idea.
Can you answer that? Can you answer that question,
It's
Tim?
interesting. Very rarely, I started looking back at it, very rarely do they have 2 of their fastest players as running backs on this team. That's what I found. I was going back through. I'm like, well, you're not going to have these guys returning kicks.
Yeah.
So that's part of the situation. I mean, Julius Jones returned kicks.
He was one of the fastest guys.
He was one of the fastest guys on the
team.
team. Yeah, but you don't, like Dexter did not. He was the fastest guy on that team. They don't normally do it. And I don't even need to talk about this topic anymore because I want to throw in there, I don't think they're going to do it very often. I think Jeremiah Love's back there against Miami if they see something, and A&M if they see something, and he might come back for the USC game.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. This is not, if you're doing that against Purdue, I'd be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right.
Very
Just
true.
stop
Yeah.
it.
Stop.
Yeah. And they're talking openly, and we know openly that they're playing more freshmen than ever before. And we've heard Nolan James, as another guy mentioned back there, he should be perfect to return kicks for you
I
against
agree.
Purdue.
And I also want to ask Jawan Sider, I should have looked this up, when Biaggi mentioned Jawan Sider had Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton back there. Did he have him back there in the opening game against whomever that was he back there against Michigan State, or was it someone else back there? Because I want Jeremiah Love to return kicks in the semifinals this year. Absolutely. Send him out there and see what happens. But
Pick your spots.
yeah, pick your spots with these guys. Now, Price, I mean, he's proven
Price is
it.
good.
He's
Yeah.
good at it. So you could, he is a backup. I know you need him for 140 carries, but he's really good at it.
Well, isn't
Yeah, maybe
let-
if Aeneas Williams was healthy, you'd be a little bit more likely to just say, okay, Price,
Great
get
point.
back there.
Great.
let me pose it this way, though. Isn't it potentially more beneficial to have them both right now when you don't know exactly who's going to be quarterbacking your offense? When you don't have a real clear offensive
That's a good
identity,
point.
don't you have to try and seize opportunities for chunk plays even more so than a year ago or whenever?
It's a good point.
Yeah.
And, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, most kick returners now have 10, 12, 16 returns on the entire season.
Yes,
I know
that's
it
the
only
best
takes.
point.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, you're calling fair catches at the 5. You can do that. You've been able to do that for a little while now. But Price, I like the idea. I like the idea of Nolan James too, JB. I mean, I let's see him.
I was trying to quickly look up Miami's kickoff return coverage to see if there was a schematic in that,
Their special teams stunk last year.
there you go. Maybe they're able to. Biaggi did say if we think we can scheme something up too. He offered that. We just didn't run with it because everybody
It was
heard Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, it was
For
like
the record,
typical-
Nicholas Singleton had 3 kickoff returns in their season opener against West Virginia last year.
Oh,
Well, West Virginia, that's
yeah.
a big rivalry. Penn
Yeah.
State, West Virginia.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Big
well, I mean,
rival.
I was looking at Bowling Green and Kent State, and there were no kickoff returns at all. So
It's
Well, they
true.
nearly lost the Bowling Green game. But
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
apparently, they
we're
must
not
have a
talking
kicker
about
that just
24.
booted it out of the end zone all the time.
Yeah,
Penn
exactly.
State got better, didn't they? From Jay Weiss, could be Jay Weiss. I think it's Weiss, though. Did Denbrock's statement about Elijah Burris surprise you? And do you think the Goog overall may be even higher on him than we knew? The comments about knowledge of the playbook seem to put a cap on what he might do this year, but I was not expecting the offensive coordinator to describe a true freshman wide receiver 6, that's a good point, as elite. Denbrock doesn't seem like the type to throw that term around lightly either.
He also, I would say,
Go ahead, JB.
I just was going to say, he also, I would say, does not seem to throw around statements capriciously, such as, I can't get him to learn the playbook. So, while Elijah Burris is very buzzy for this preseason camp, building on the buzz that he first started manifesting for himself in spring camp, we now know from Mike Denbrock that for him to crawl into that upper tier of truly trusted receivers, he has to take the next step in the playbook. And this is a perfect opportunity for me to mention, as pointed out to me by friend of the program, Bill O'Grady, that we just talked about Nolan James. Now we're talking about Elijah Burris. They were teammates last year at DePaul Catholic, and I had forgotten that. I don't think we've mentioned that too often, but interesting that 2 of the buzziest freshmen were teammates a year ago in high school.
Excellent point. The fact that I nearly fell out of my chair, I think that constitutes being surprised that Denbrock was so bold as to say that. But the ability is there, and I'm sure that there's some things that they can do with with him. Maybe not, maybe not Miami, maybe not Texas A&M, but as the season progresses, I would imagine he'll find opportunities to get the football in his hands, because as we've seen, I mean, if you do some type of tunnel screen, give him an opportunity to weave his way through traffic, and he's really, really dangerous.
Pete,
Now
you
that's a
attended.
player should get more reps against Purdue.
Yes, that's
Yes.
the Purdue man reps. Pete, you attended a Nolan James and Elijah Burris game.
I did. I went to see them play the night before the Navy game, and I didn't go in really prepared to watch Nolan James because he's committed to Boston College. But I remember going to the stadium the next day and talking to somebody in the recruiting office and be like, "Are you guys interested in Nolan James?" Because like he was impressive. Like he was just hard to stop. He was in an offense that had a Power Five quarterback, Elijah Burris, and a receiver who also went to Ohio State, and they built the offense around Nolan James, and just he just ground out yards and ground out yards, and like he didn't need huge holes to run through. And yeah, I was very impressed with him when I saw him live in high school. Whether that was good. I knew he was going to be a good college back. I just thought like he would probably be the huge pain in the ass back at Boston College that Notre Dame would have to defend.
Mike Cloud shows up at Boston College again after all those
Exactly.
years.
But instead, Notre Dame gets to be the beneficiary of that. So yeah, I like Nolan James a lot.
Imagine the loss. I mean, Boston College cannot afford to lose recruits like that are verbally committed.
No.
That's true. I mean, at the time, too, I mean, Notre Dame was probably like Keaton Young, Aeneas Williams, Jadarian Price, Jeremiah Love. You want to come join us for a while? It's what happens when you make that run.
Imagine if there was a elite offensive lineman and NFL defensive end in the city of Boston, and you let them get away to Notre Dame, and they went to the same Catholic high school. That'd be tough.
Man. All right, we have a couple of questions paired up. First one from Chicago, Kev. I haven't heard much about Madden Faramo during camp. I know he is a freshman, but wondered what the reactions have been to him. Let's start with that because we did get Tim. I don't know if you guys were there as well, but when Max Bola talked about Madden Faramo, he's got the skill set, and he believes at some point that's going to come around this season.
I love talking to Max Bola because the question was posed kind of along the lines of, hey, you had room for 5 last year. Will there be room for a 5th this year? And everybody knows that 5th would probably be Madden Faramo. And he said, there will never be a player that I play just because he has talent. He has to be as good or better than the other 4. So Madden Faramo will not be that against Miami and Texas A&M. But as the season goes on, guys, it would be a healthy Madden Faramo, and I'm always concerned because when you have multiple wrist injuries, it'd be a good sign for his future if all of a sudden you're playing USC and it's the middle of the 3rd quarter and Madden Faramo comes in for one series or something along those lines. I feel like that means he has really earned it. And I believe Max Bola when he says, I'm not putting a guy out there because of talent. He has to be as good as the player that's on the field at that time.
I feel like the rest of the position group is too good.
The other 4?
Yeah. I mean, I think if there was, I don't think there's much of an opening for Madden Faramo right now, especially the way football is going, where you're only playing 2 linebackers at once. Like if we were still in Notre Dame was playing Michigan State every week in like 2005. I think Madden Faramo would probably play a lot, but yeah, it's just like I don't think he'll play a ton this year, but I think that says more about Osbury, Snead, Bowen, and Kingston Viliamasa.
Purdue. He can play. No, that might be
that's too early.
That is too early.
Well, he can't play against Navy. Nobody wants to see that.
It's not too early. It's not too early if the Purdue game this year is a facsimile of the Purdue game last year. You play all those guys the second half. I think Madden also probably will factor on special teams. So I think that will be his pathway to the field to earning a potential role in the defense. He'll have to prove himself and be trusted on special teams, not just making some plays here and there, but also being assignment sound and disciplined on special teams. I think the talent is huge.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, John. And you don't redshirt Madden Faramo. You get him ready to play.
Yeah.
And again, what Bola actually said was at some point this year he expects him to be good enough to be in that rotation. But Pete, I think you make a great point because I think it's as good as we know Osbury can be and as dangerous as Snead can be. it's still going to be very difficult to take Drake Bowen and KVA off the field. It just
But it's
is.
yeah, it's the red shirts are becoming fewer and fewer throughout
Yeah.
college football, especially in this day of transient rosters and lineups, and also we're in the officially in the era of the house settlement rev share, and all these dudes are getting paid. All these dudes are going to play.
Well, think of it
This
this way. A guy like Snead, they say, I mean, he couldn't get on the field yet, but he probably could have played special teams as a freshman before game number 9. And his fifth year, unless he gets hurt this year, his fifth year at Notre Dame is not being taken at Notre Dame. He's going pro, or he's not going to split time for
yeah.
another year with 4 guys
And he's
next.
still yeah.
Yeah.
His roll off the edge, I think
Yeah.
that's huge. The second part of the two that you paired together
We
there,
get a
Tim,
lot of
was
these, so we had to address it at some point.
yeah,
You
no,
can't.
fair enough. So O'Malley, this is from Rankings Matter. So O'Malley mentions 6 receivers, and Coach Freeman goes out of its way to add one, and then another, and no Cam Williams. Is 2026 a year for Cam Williams?
I said the names because I wanted to see if he would add a name. And I was actually surprised that he did go out of his way. But JB, if KK Smith caught a 60-yard bomb, maybe that's why he was
There
uppermost
you
in
go.
Marcus Freeman's mind at the time. We heard good things about Saldate, and the vertical leap. I guess we've now both heard separately. Definitely different sources, JB. But Pete, if you didn't hear, he's got like a 41.5 vertical. Logan Saldate, which is tops on the team or thereabouts. His path to the field seems hard, Saldate, in the slot when you can
Yeah.
play Greathouse, Pauling, Faison, your second tight end, Jeremiah Love, Aeneas Williams, and Nolan James in the slot. So Cam Williams, the path 2026 would be the year. I want to change one thing people keep saying, though. They're afraid it's Jordan Johnson or Tobias Merriweather. Jordan Johnson was unhappy all the time. Tobias Merriweather was not happy. Cam Williams is just trying to develop at Notre Dame and has shown no signs of Jordan Johnson fatigue
And
of
yeah,
being on the team.
seems very happy to be at Notre
Yes.
Dame. That could run out at some point, but and Saldate's chance at pointing out what you just said, Tim, he'll get on the field, but
Yeah, but that's
I mean
that's
the greater chance. I mean, 2026, there's a greater chance for Logan Saldate than Cam Williams right now. However, he's a W, and Gilbert's out there with Malachi Fields. Fields is a one and done, so opportunities will open up a little bit more next year.
he's still
I mean,
fast.
those other guys were already gone.
Yeah.
We mentioned
Oh, right, yeah.
Merriweather, Johnson. I mean, Rico Flores, Braylon James, like they're already gone. There was no sophomore year, so
They could
Cam
have
Williams
used,
is already quite a bit different than those guys.
yeah, they could have used Rico Flores. They could still use Rico Flores.
Yeah.
I liked his tape. That's a shame. Oh well, they're fine.
Yeah, yeah.
They wouldn't have beaten Ohio State. That's fine. They needed somebody else to beat Ohio State. It wasn't Rico Flores. So from Tom Bullock 3, I like this one because it could be an all the above, guys. The identity of special teams this year will be, you can rank them or just say yes or no. Flipping the field, I believe that means Rendell. Blocked kicks, reliable field goal kicker, home run hitting returns, or mess with Kirby's head trickeration. That was a
I-
fun play.
Yeah. Guys, go ahead.
I think all the above. I think Marty Biagi's ready to unleash things, and hopefully the kicker's good enough for gets recognized
Well,
as
but what's the
teams
greatest
coordinator.
priority, Tim? I mean, that's how I looked at it, as a priority.
Well, field goal could be the number one priority,
Right,
but that's out of
right.
Biagi's. Yeah,
And flipping the field. I mean,
I have more confidence in Rendell doing what he did last year than Burnett doing what he did as a junior, 19 and 23, right?
19 to 20.
19 and 20? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
19 and 23 was Dora with a bomb. See, okay. And I think they'll be great at blocking kicks with Jason Onye, who's great at it, Bryce Young, who's great at it, and then Jadon
Logan
Blair
Thomas.
is 6'11",
Yeah.
and Tay Johnson.
Yeah, and Logan Thomas.
Logan Thomas, yeah. Kicker is important.
I think there's concern about place kicker. I think they've been encouraged, but I do think there's concern there. It hasn't been as consistent as they wanted. I was told that Rendell did punt the ball very well yesterday inside the stadium, and so that's a marked improvement from what we witnessed early in camp. Now he's got to continue to carry that and also be consistent. But I think they'll be really good blocking kicks again. They need Rendell to be really good, helping them flip the field again, and then we'll see on the others. That's kind of how I would rank it.
We like, and when I put that Onye piece together, he's got 3 block kicks.
Yeah, no, he's really good at it, and I think they took one away from him too. Actually, that he had, I think he has four, but he gets through the line and gets his hand up, and Bryce Young obviously can block punts and kicks. It's
Yeah,
an
I mean,
interesting dynamic.
having those two out there. I mean, you didn't have Onye after game 5. Having those two on the field, you're game planning against a block kick, and I mean, I think Onye's more from the middle.
Yeah, oh yeah. So
His, I mean, I know he plays defensive tackle, but I mean, his block kicks have been
so is
more
Young.
from the
So Young
middle.
will be from the middle on field goals with
Well,
him.
yeah, him too, but
Yeah.
he came from the outside as well. That's going to be really damn hard for opponents to scheme against.
I mean, I think Biaggi has been empowered, and JB, you pointed out there was some stuff that was not that's had to be left in the holster because Penn State and Ohio State did not offer opportunities for Biaggi to unleash some things. Maybe Miami and Texas A&M don't have quite that
Yeah,
tight knit special teams unit, so you're afraid to attack them.
I would
And
have.
we know Marcus Freeman has I think he has a really innate feel for when to unleash some of these gadget plays, and we know he's not scared to do it in major settings.
He has
Uh,
Faison and Jeremiah Love helping him do it too. Those guys are really good athletes in space. Like the 2-point conversion should have been shut down by Ohio State, but Jordan Faison just got away.
hey
They
Tim,
weren't confused at all. They played the jet sweep. Were right on top of Jordan Faison. He got away and hit Bo Collins in a championship game. I mean that's a playmaker making a play too.
you asked about Miami special teams. This is from the first rate series. They were out of 13 teams. I had Miami ninth, so they were the fifth worst. And this is what I wrote. The Hurricanes were number 122 in kick coverage, allowing 24.9 yards per return, including 2 for scores. Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Western Michigan were the only other FBS teams to allow as many as 2 kick returns for touchdowns. Miami did block a kick. My last line of that segment was, "You got to love Notre Dame special teams coordinator Marty Biaggi in this matchup." So
You know who allowed one
yes,
kickoff return for a touchdown last year? Georgia.
yes, they did. At least one. Or do you know that that was the
I
only
just
one
I
they
just assumed
allowed?
that was the only one. I don't know.
All right, fair enough. Question from Walter White. How is this defensive line any better this year? I just don't see it.
I I mean, I get where he's saying because I think that, and we've talked about this a bunch. Like we remember what Mills and Cross could have been or should have been if they were healthy, and they just never were totally healthy at the same time together. So we didn't get what like those just butt kicking defensive tackles that you can build an entire defense around that. So um, I don't. I mean, I think they're better off the edge.
Right.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
concern was, are they good enough up the middle? I I don't know. I mean, I that's probably the position I just want to see it the most, other than quarterback. Against Miami and Texas A&M, like Onye, Rubio, Heinisch, Dawson,
Maybe Hughes.
maybe Hughes. There, like, are they? They don't need to be amazing. They just need to be pretty good.
Yeah.
But I want to see them be pretty good before. So I get that concern. But I just think off the edge they could be a huge pain in the butt to deal with, and at third and long passing situations, I think they could be unplayable.
Yeah. I
I want to point
think
out that. Oh, go ahead, JB.
I was just going to say, I think the sum of the parts along the defensive line is why I maybe believe they can be overall better than a year ago. Completely agree with Pete. The interior, to me, is the second biggest question mark on the team behind the quarterback battle and the quarterback play in general. But I do think they're much better off the edge this year than they were a year ago, especially as good as Boubacar Traore already looks. We knew he was coming back and we knew he was cleared, but he looks game one ready from everything we've seen and heard. And then Bryce Young, I was told again this morning, has been one of the standouts of preseason camp. Logan Thomas has flashed. There's just more parts there. They can bring KVA off the edge, Snead's doing stuff off the edge. And then I would say the four linebackers are so good that can also be an asset to the interior of the Notre Dame defensive line as well.
Junior Tua Halamaka has proven it too, and we never talk about that guy. I
We
mean,
don't.
he's a defensive MVP of the Sugar Bowl, for God's sakes.
We
It's a big game.
he gets shortchanged. I think he's a low key guy too. I mean,
Yeah.
he doesn't come at you with a whole lot of without any bravado. Hey, it's a perfectly legitimate question by Walter White, but way better off the edge. I mean, Bryce
Right.
Young in his second year. Logan Thomas was it Marcus Freeman I mentioned him yesterday, or was it Chris Ash? I mean, made a point of saying he can do stuff off the edge too. Burnham to Alamaka. I'd say this about the defensive tackles. I have the exact same concern, but I also think, you know what? They could be pretty good too. So
You know what? It probably doesn't
let's see
matter.
it.
It probably doesn't matter if they're better than last year. It just matters if they're good enough to let the defensive ends do their
Probably a
thing
good
on
way of
third
putting
down. One part about last year, Rubio missed the first 4 or 5 games. Cross was injured for most of the first 3 or 4 games, then got hurt again. Mills missed the playoff run after IU. Onye stopped playing after game 5. They were never together. None of the 5 were together for one game healthy ever at any point the entire season. I think Heinisch made it through unscathed. That's relevant too. But they won't be out there playing against Miami and A&M and saying, we're doing better than we would have done last year. So they really just have to do well. They just have to not be a weak link because the defensive ends are going to be very good. Question from ZWMS5438 also needs a new username. Will these guys score a game-relevant, high-leverage touchdown in 2025? And by that, he does not mean to make it 66-7 against Purdue. All right, you guys go from here. Ready? Jabron Payne.
Probably not.
Nolan James. Oh, go ahead. Anyone? Jabron Payne? Yes. So we're talking. There's about probably 7 of those games this year that will materialize, right? First half of any game counts, other than like Purdue last year.
Well, I circled 3 of the 7.
Okay. Who are they? All right, I'll read them off. Jabron Payne, Nolan James, Elijah Burris, Micah Gilbert, Saldate. He actually asked those 5. I added 2 for flair and fun. Flanagan and CJ Carr.
James Flanagan, of course.
Yes.
I circled, I mean, potentially, obviously, Elijah Burris. I think Micah Gilbert can be one of those guys. And I obviously think CJ Carr can be one of those guys.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Nolan James might. And although we're answering questions, I'll interrupt with Notre Dame providing a little bit of breaking news on Twitter, not in the starting quarterback realm.
Can I stop you there just to see who O'Malley predicted to be captains this year? Because he is not even close.
Oh, well, I told you I wasn't going to be close. So let's see here. So no Jeremiah Love. How much money did I lose theoretically? I didn't bet.
Yeah, I think you said $1 million. And
Well, you
lose
didn't
it
take
to
the
me.
bet. Unlike Tariq Bracy, you did not take the bet. So there is no holy smokes. Okay.
Captains are Drake Bowen, Donovan Heinisch, Will Pauling, and Billy Schrauth.
And Adon Schuler.
And Adon Schuler. Yeah. I was loading Twitter as we speak.
They should have dropped a quarterback in there accidentally just for the heck of it. Is that an announcement? But oh well. Wow. No Jeremiah Love, huh? I guess he didn't want to be a captain because he probably would have been nominated captain. But
that's okay. Interesting. That is really interesting. I think, there was a question last whenever certainly one of the offensive line was going to be it. And we
thought Kreger Wagner over Schrauth.
Well, but I did say Schrauth.
I said Schrauth.
Thought that was okay. You did too. Okay. All right. Well, I mean,
I'm just going to name everybody next year.
He's repping that group, and that's good. Pauling probably shouldn't be a surprise with everything that we've heard about him. Right?
Not
JB?
As of the last week, but he certainly was a surprise as of July 31st, if you want to go back into quarterback territory, right?
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Heinisch deserves it. Bowen deserves it. It's
they all do. If they're named captains, they all do.
No, you're right. They all do. Not the, I guess, the flashiest, which is inconsequential when it comes to captains. Great for them. Sounds like a good group.
Touchdowns, Pete. Let's drop a lead balloon on this one. Who's going to score a touchdown in a high leverage game situation?
Micah Gilbert.
Number 1 guy off the bench for Malachi Fields.
Yeah, I feel like either Payne or James will. I just don't know which one.
Yeah, I'm going to go James on that because he gets away and scores in Aeneas Williams fashion somehow.
Interesting question.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question because they could all score a touchdown this year.
So we're not counting anything against Purdue.
No, if you score in the
High
first
leverage.
half against Purdue or the first half against Syracuse and Pitt and
First
Boston
5
College,
minutes.
anybody. First half, yeah. Purdue's going to play with 11 defenders. It's going to take more than a half to subdue them this year. It's going to be a little
Boy,
different.
we better stop dismissing Purdue.
Purdue. I'm
Yeah,
taking
I
the
think
points. I already told you. I'm taking plus 30 right now.
Yeah. That's probably a safe bet. You want to wrap it up here, Tim?
Yes, indeed.
I'll ask it. It's addressed to you, I believe.
Okay. Well, there's 4 of us, but we can all answer.
Oh, yeah, well, of course. But Tom Mendoza talks. If Notre Dame wins, Tim, what will be the top 3 storylines on Monday?
I'll go with number 1. You guys follow from there. Kenny Minchie comes of age in Miami. That's a headline.
All right. Number 2 for me will be defense makes Carson Beck miserable.
In Miami. Need alliteration, Sean. Throw Miami in there. There's good. Pete, alliterate. You got to use alliteration now, Pete.
Oh, I don't have any alliteration for
All right,
Jeremiah Love starting his Heisman campaign, but like I think that's probably what it would require.
Yeah, I think something along the lines of Minchie, Love, carry Notre Dame to victory, and then to address the previous question. Then Notre Dame's defensive tackles look very good.
Be an odd headline.
No.
What if CJ Carr comes off the bench to lead the game-winning drive?
Miami.
Well, it could be that. Could be that, and that would be perfectly fine as well.
What'd you say, Pete?
I said, what if CJ Carr comes off the bench to lead the game-winning drive?
That's
Would that be I don't know if that'd be a headline or not.
that'd be quite a thing, actually. I think we may have been too late to the party trying to predict quarterback, but before we wrap it up.
Oh, wait. Emil Wagner's also captain.
How
Holy
many
cow.
captains they have?
I don't know. They just keep tweeting him out every 3 minutes.
They're just unveiling them one at a time.
Are you trying to tell me I might not have lost $1 million? Could it happen?
No, I mean, Jeremiah Love, you're out $1 million right
Darn
there.
it. Okay.
Maybe he's going to be announced last.
Nah, I think it's over.
That is possible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if it's not,
I think we might have gone
everybody will know that we
I was
didn't
going to
have the whole
say
list.
they've done it in alphabetical order.
Oh, okay.
So no Zinter. That ends it for us right there. I don't think this year, but all right. Well, guys, we will be back on August 21st, and I also have a Notre Dame Club of Milwaukee speech that day. So if anybody's in Milwaukee and they want to stop by, you probably have to buy a ticket. I'm not sure you can just crash the gates, but it would be a lot of fun. Until then, and we will not have any more access. That will be our first time, guys, where we can talk. Maybe start doing some Miami stuff a little stronger. I've been pushing all Miami and season prediction stuff out of camp. We can start touching on a little bit of that on Thursday because obviously next week is very heavy Miami.
I'm digging into that stuff as we speak, Tio.
And very quickly for listeners, the following week, Marcus Freeman's press conference will be Tuesday and his update will be Friday. We are sticking with our Monday, Thursday podcasts. So there'll be just more news coming out of Football Scoop, The Athletic, and Irish Illustrated Insider next week, just on our normal days. They are obviously playing a football game on Sunday, so they're pushing their 1 week schedule back. Until Thursday, for Pete Sampson, The Athletic, John Bryce of Football Scoop, and Tim Priester of Irish Illustrated, I'm Tim O'Malley. Thanks for watching and listening.